The moment the Alien Council detected the signal, every system on the station froze. Not failed, not glitched, froze. As if reality itself had paused to look at one impossible result. A human, matched perfectly. The Soulmate indicator had never activated in recorded galactic history. Not for emperors. Not for gods of war. Not even for the species that built the system. And now it was screaming for a grease-covered human engineer. Commander Ethan Reeves didn't know any of this when the airlock hissed open. He only knew 3 things. The station was breaking, the climate systems were failing, and he had exactly 17 minutes before half the diplomatic wing suffocated in vacuum-level heat. Perfect, he muttered, wrenching open a control panel with bare hands. Who designed this garbage? A spark hit his knuckles. He didn't even flinch. Behind him, the corridor lights flickered like dying stars. That's when he collided with her. It wasn't dramatic at first. Just a step too fast. A turn too sharp. But the impact felt wrong. Not physical. Conceptual. Like reality had briefly forgotten how distance worked. She studied him with one hand. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice didn't belong in this place. Calm. Precise. Almost musical. Ethan looked up and forgot how to breathe. She wasn't human. Green skin like polished gemstone. Silver hair flowing like liquid metal. Armor woven with diplomatic insignias that shimmered faintly with internal light. Her eyes locked onto his sharp, analytical, almost predatory in intelligence. And then her wrist device screamed. A burst of blue light exploded outward, flooding the corridor. The alien woman froze. So did Ethan. What the? Her breath caught. It activated. Ethan blinked. Is that bad? The device pulsed again, brighter this time. Violent. Unstable. The alien staggered slightly, as if something invisible had struck her nervous system. It has never activated, she whispered. Not once in recorded convergence history. Ethan slowly raised an eyebrow. Cool. So, I'm your first customer? She looked at him like he had just rewritten physics. Soulmate indicator, she said. Genetic neural harmonic alignment system. It determines perfect emotional and biological compatibility across species. A beat. Then another pulse. Stronger. The lights above them dimmed in response. Ethan scratched his neck. So, you're telling me your fancy alien bracelet just picked the maintenance guy fixing your broken air conditioner? Her eyes narrowed slightly. It does not make mistakes. A deep vibration rolled through the station. Not mechanical. Something deeper. Structural. Ethan felt it in his bones. Okay, he said slowly. I'm officially upgrading this from weird to very bad. Sirens erupted. Red light flooded the corridor like burning blood. Emergency systems screamed through the walls. Grid collapse detected. An automated voice announced. Life support failure imminent. The alien's composure snapped instantly into command mode. If we lose environmental regulation in this wing, 14 species die in under 10 minutes. Ethan was already moving. Then let's not die, he said, ripping open another panel. She stared at him. You do not have clearance for that system. I don't have clearance for half the things I fix, he replied. Welcome to engineering. He slammed his hand into the exposed circuitry. Sparks exploded. The system screamed in alien code. Then debayed. For a moment, silence returned. The lights stabilized. Partial gravity rebalanced. Life support flickered back online. The alien stepped closer slowly, watching his hands like they were doing something impossible. You are bypassing security protocols. They were in my way. That system is not compatible with human cognition. Ethan smirked. Good thing I'm not asking permission. The Soulmate device pulsed again. Harder, like it was reacting to him. Not selecting him. Responding. The alien suddenly grabbed her wrist. Pain flickered across her face. This is impossible, she whispered. It's amplifying under stress proximity. Ethan frowned. So what? I make your bracelet glitch harder. Before she could answer, a violent explosion rocked the far end of the corridor. The wall buckled inward. Not from malfunction. From impact. Armed silhouettes stepped through the smoke. Black armor. No insignia. No identification. Military extraction units. Ethan's expression shifted instantly. Cold. Focused. Okay, he said quietly. That's new. The alien's voice dropped. They're not station security. Another explosion shook the corridor behind them. They were being surrounded. Ethan grabbed a broken metal beam, weighing it in his hand. You got a name? He asked. Syria Vin, she replied. All right, Syria, Ethan said, tightening his grip. Try not to die in the next 30 seconds. Her eyes widened slightly. You are not armed. Ethan looked at the advancing soldiers, then smiled. Neither are they. The first attacker moved. Fast. Professional. Clean kill approach. Ethan moved faster. The beam hit first. Armor cracked. Second strike disarmed the weapon. Third moved the attacker into the wall hard enough to shut down neural implants. 3 seconds. Silence returned briefly. Syria stared. That was not engineering. Ethan didn't look back at her. Yeah, he said. That was survival. The Soulmate device flared so bright, it cast shadows in reverse. And somewhere deep inside the station, something ancient woke up. The walls pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Then the corridor lights went out completely. And in the darkness, Ethan heard a new sound. Not alarms, not systems. A voice, whispering through the station itself. Bond confirmed. Syria froze. Ethan slowly turned toward her. Please tell me that's normal. Her expression was pale now. No, she whispered. It never speaks. Another explosion echoed closer. Boot steps surrounded them. Syria looked at Ethan, and for the first time, uncertainty entered her voice. Commander Reeves. Yes, I think we were just chosen for something. The corridor doors behind them began to unlock. One by one. Without authorization. Without command. Ethan raised his makeshift weapon. Yeah, he said quietly. Then let's see what they think they picked. The doors slid open. And the darkness stepped in. The doors slid open slowly. Not with mechanical precision but hesitation. Like something on the other side was thinking about entering. Then the darkness moved. Not a shadow. Not smoke. But soldiers. Black armored units poured into the corridor in synchronized silence, their helmets reflecting the emergency red light like dead eyes. No insignia. No allegiance markers. Just purpose. Syria stepped back instinctively. Ethan didn't. He stepped forward instead. Okay, he muttered. So, it's officially a bad day. The first shot fired. The bolt of energy didn't hit him. It missed by centimeters. Because Ethan had already moved. Fast. Too fast for a human without enhancement. He didn't think, he reacted. He grabbed a fallen metal conduit and deflected the second shot midair. Sparks exploded across the corridor. Syria's eyes widened. You are not baseline human speed. Ethan didn't answer. He rolled forward, kicked a weapon out of a soldier's hand, and slammed the butt of it into another attacker's chest plate. The impact sent the armored figure sliding across the floor. 3 down. But more kept coming. Too many. Syria raised her wrist device instinctively. The Soulmate indicator flared. Instantly something changed. The air vibrated. The attackers hesitated. Not from fear. From interference. Like their perception had been distorted. What did you do? Ethan shouted over the chaos. I did nothing. Syria replied, shocked. It is reacting again. The device on her wrist pulsed violently. Blue light spread outward in waves. And for a fraction of a second, Ethan saw it. Not with his eyes. With something deeper. A second layer of awareness. He could feel positions, angles, intent, even heartbeat rhythms of the attackers. His breathing slowed. What the hell, he whispered. Syria stared at him. You feel it too. Another wave of fire erupted. But this time Ethan moved like he already knew where it would land. He dodged before the shot fired. Slammed forward. Disarmed another attacker. Not reacting. Predicting. Syria's voice trembled slightly. The bond is synchronizing cognitive processing. Ethan grabbed her wrist. Instantly, his mind expanded. Like someone had opened a hidden processor inside his brain. He saw the corridor differently now. Not as space, but as patterns. Movement equations. Probability lines. What is this? He said sharply. Syria struggled to breathe. It should not be possible at this intensity. Another explosion rocked the station. The ceiling cracked. Emergency systems screamed. Main grid failure spreading. Automated voice announced. Section collapse in 4 minutes. Ethan didn't even look up. Of course it is, he muttered. Syria grabbed his arm. We need evacuation. No, Ethan interrupted. He pointed down the corridor. There's a power relay junction there. If we reroute it manually, we can stabilize half the station. That junction is inside a sealed military zone. Ethan smirked slightly. So was this corridor. Look how that turned out. Another wave of attackers advanced. This time heavier units. Shields. Suppression weapons. Syria stepped back. Ethan, you cannot fight them all. Ethan exhaled slowly, then looked at her. You keep saying cannot like it means something. He squeezed her wrist. The Soulmate indicator flared brighter than before. The corridor lights flickered violently. And suddenly, Ethan moved again. But now it wasn't just speed. It was coordination. Syria moved with him. Without being told. Without hesitation. Like their bodies had been rewritten to match each other. She fired a stolen weapon. Ethan redirected her aim mid-motion. 3 attackers dropped. She adjusted instantly. He rotated position. She covered blind spots he hadn't even seen yet. It was not teamwork. It was synchronization. The attackers froze. One of them whispered over comms. Subject pairing confirmed. They are linking. Syria heard it. Her face tightened. They are not here for sabotage. Ethan finished the thought coldly. They're here for you. The word hit heavier than any weapon. Syria shook her head slightly. No. That is not possible. I am diplomatic asset level. Another explosion interrupted her. The corridor behind them collapsed, sealing their retreat. They were boxed in. Syria's breathing tightened. Ethan didn't panic. Instead, he looked upward. At the station. At the structure itself. Like he could feel it now. Something's wrong with this place, he said quietly. Syria frowned. The station is stable. No, Ethan cut in. He pressed 2 fingers against the wall. Paused. Then whispered. It's alive. Syria froze. That is impossible. Ethan shook his head slowly. No. It's just buried. A deep vibration echoed through the station. Not explosion. Not structural failure. A response. The Soulmate device flared violently again. This time, it didn't just pulse. It synchronized with the station's core frequency. Syria staggered. Stop, she gasped. It's too much. But Ethan didn't let go, because now he could feel it too. Something vast, ancient, sleeping beneath the station. And it had just recognized them. The lights died completely. Total blackout. Only the blue glow of the Soulmate indicator remained. Then, a new voice. Not automated. Not artificial. Something deeper. Older. Compatibility anomaly detected. Syria whispered, terrified now. That voice is not from station systems. Ethan slowly turned his head. Then what is it from? The corridor floor beneath them pulsed once, like a heartbeat. And in the darkness, a section of the wall dissolved, revealing a passage that should not exist. Syria stepped back. That corridor was not on any schematic. Ethan stared at it, then smiled faintly. Yeah, he said. I think we just found the part they didn't want anyone to see. Behind them, more armored footsteps approached. Front blocked. Back closing. No exit. Syria looked at Ethan. For the first time, uncertainty cracked her composure completely. We are trapped. Ethan glanced at her, then at the glowing passage, then at the advancing soldiers, and finally said, No. We're invited. He pulled her forward, into the unknown corridor. The moment they crossed the threshold, the Soulmate indicator exploded with light, and the entire station shifted, like something inside it had just awakened fully for the first time in centuries, and recognized them as the trigger. The corridor sealed behind them like it had never existed. No sound, no echo, no pursuit, only silence so deep it felt engineered. Ethan slowly lowered his weapon. Okay, that's officially not normal. Syria didn't respond right away. Her eyes were fixed on the walls. Not the surface, something beyond it. These structures, she whispered, they are not part of the station. Ethan glanced around. You're just now noticing that? No, she said quietly. I am realizing what they are. The corridor pulsed again. Soft blue light spread through the walls like veins coming alive. And then, images appeared. Not screens. Not projections. Memories embedded into metal. Entire civilizations forming, collapsing, and reforming in loops that stretched across impossible timelines. Ethan stopped walking. All right, I'm officially in sci-fi horror territory now. Syria stepped closer to one of the glowing walls. Her reflection shimmered beside alien figures locked in what looked like emotional synchronization. This is older than the Confluence Station, she said. Ethan frowned. By how much? Syria hesitated. By everything. A deep vibration rolled through the corridor. Not sound. Response. Like the structure itself had heard her. Ethan crossed his arms. So what is it? Ancient alien museum? Galactic server room? Syria shook her head slowly. It is a lattice. Ethan looked at her. That explains nothing. Syria turned toward him, voice lower now. It explains everything. The corridor dimmed. And suddenly, a voice filled the space again. Calm. Mechanical. Ancient. Convergence, node recognized. Ethan exhaled sharply. Yeah, I really don't like when the walls talk. Syria touched her wrist device. It was still glowing, but now it wasn't reacting randomly. It was syncing with everything. This system, she said carefully, is evaluating us. Ethan looked around. For what? Tourist approval. Syria didn't answer immediately. Then softly. For compatibility integration. The corridor shifted. 3 paths appeared ahead. Identical. Perfectly aligned. Like a decision already made. Ethan frowned. Let me guess. Pick one and die horribly? Syria studied them. No. Each path leads to a different outcome. Ethan glanced at her. That sounds worse. A faint pulse ran through the floor. The soulmate indicator between them flared stronger. Syria suddenly flinched. Ethan felt it too. Not pain. Information. Too much of it. His mind expanded for a second, like something had unlocked a hidden layer of perception. He saw patterns. Not just paths. Probabilities. Connections. Consequences branching infinitely forward. He staggered. What the hell was that? Syria steadied herself. The lattice is sharing predictive synchronization. Ethan looked at her sharply. In English. Syria met his eyes. In English, it is showing us what we could become. A pause. Then quieter. All of them. Ethan turned back to the 3 paths. Now he saw it too. Each one wasn't just a corridor. It was a life trajectory. One showed war. One showed isolation. One showed unity. All branching endlessly. All tied to their bond. Syria whispered, it is calculating outcomes based on our emotional resonance. Ethan shook his head. That's insane. A distant metallic sound echoed behind them. Footsteps. But not normal ones. Synchronized. Perfect. Syria's expression tightened. We are not alone. The far wall dissolved. Not broke. Not opened. Disassembled. And armored figures stepped through. But these weren't the same attackers from before. These were different. Heavier. Cleaner. Less human-like in movement. Their bodies shimmered faintly with geometric overlays. Syria's face went pale. No, enforcement units. Ethan raised his weapon immediately. Let me guess. Bad guys. Syria nodded once. They are designed to maintain lattice stability. One of the figures spoke. Not loudly, but it echoed through everything. Anomalous pair detected. Convergence risk elevated. Ethan tilted his head. Okay, I'm getting tired of being called a risk. The enforcement unit raised its arm. And reality bent. The corridor twisted sideways. Gravity shifted. Walls reoriented like equations being rewritten in real time. Ethan barely stayed on his feet. Yeah, nope, this is cheating. Syria grabbed his arm. They are using predictive structural control. Ethan looked at her. Meaning? They are rewriting the environment based on expected outcomes. Ethan's eyes narrowed. So, they already know what we're going to do. Syria nodded urgently. Yes. Ethan looked at the shifting corridor, then at the enforcement units, then at Syria. A slow, dangerous calm entered his voice. Then we stopped being predictable.
He grabbed her wrist.
The Soulmate indicator flared violently. This time not stable, not controlled, explosive. The light surged through the corridor. The predictive distortion faltered. Just for a moment. Ethan moved instantly. Not toward the enemies. Not away. Sideways. Into a motion that made no logical sense. Syria followed without thinking. The enforcement units hesitated. For the first time, one of them recalculated. Unexpected trajectory. Ethan smirked slightly. Yeah, that's kinda my thing. He pulled Syria toward the center path. The corridor reacted instantly. All three paths began collapsing into one. The enforcement units shifted, trying to adapt. But the system itself was now unstable. Syria shouted, "You are forcing convergence." Ethan didn't slow down. Good. Whatever this thing is, it keeps trying to pick for us. He tightened his grip on her hand. So, I'm picking first. The corridor collapsed fully into a single tunnel of light. Behind them, the enforcement units paused. Not advancing. Calculating. For the first time, uncertain. Syria looked at Ethan as they ran. Her voice was quieter now. If we enter full convergence state, Ethan cut in. Yeah? There may be no separation of cognition afterward. He gave a short, breathless laugh. So we either die or become roommates in cosmic horror? Syria almost smiled again. Almost. Then the tunnel ahead flared bright blue. And the voice returned. Not outside this time. Inside them both. Convergence initiation accepted. Ethan froze for half a second. I really don't like that sentence. The tunnel collapsed into light, and reality changed direction. The light didn't fade. It reconstructed reality. Ethan felt like he was falling and standing still at the same time. There was no corridor anymore. No station. No walls. Only a vast, silent expanse of geometric stars stretching in every direction like a living equation. Syria stood beside him, but not quite beside him. More like aligned with him. Her voice echoed strangely. Ethan, this is not physical space. Ethan slowly looked around. Yeah, I noticed. A pause. Then quieter. I think we just got uploaded into alien math. The Soulmate indicator between them still glowed. But now it wasn't on her wrist. It was everywhere. In the stars. In the distance. Inside thought itself. A presence filled the void. Not speaking. Communicating. Convergence complete. Syria stepped forward cautiously. Show yourself. The space responded. A structure formed slowly in front of them. Not a ship. Not a machine. A vast lattice of interwoven light patterns stretching beyond perception. It felt ancient. Older than civilization. Older than conflict. Older than identity. Ethan exhaled. Okay. Big glowing thing. Love that for us. The structure responded instantly. Designation. Confluence Lattice Core. Syria's voice tightened. So, the station was only a fragment. Correct. Ethan crossed his arms. All right, big brain cube. Why drag us here? A pause. Then, human anomaly detected in Soulmate system. Result exceeds all predictive models. Syria turned slightly toward Ethan. They're talking about you. Ethan pointed at himself. Why is it always me? The lattice responded. Human emotional variance exceeds harmonic limits. Another pause. Variance classified as evolutionary catalyst. Syria whispered. Catalyst. The structure shifted. Suddenly, projections formed around them. Countless civilizations. Hundreds of species. All connected by invisible threads of emotional synchronization. Wars ending. Empires merging. Enemies becoming partners. Entire galaxies reshaping political structure based on bond compatibility. Ethan watched in silence. So this thing has been running relationships like a control system for the entire galaxy? Syria nodded slowly. It appears so. Ethan shook his head. That's insane. The lattice responded. It is stability. Ethan looked up sharply.
No.
That's control. Silence followed. For the first time, the system hesitated. Syria stepped closer to Ethan. Her voice softer now. If the system is real, then your presence changes its foundation. Ethan frowned. I didn't ask for that. Syria looked at him. I don't think it asked either. A pulse ran through the structure. Then, a new projection formed. Different from the others. Not war. Not peace. Something else. A future where species were no longer paired by compatibility systems. Where bonds formed freely.
Chaotically.
Unpredictably. Human influence spreading across the lattice like an uncontrollable variable. The system spoke again. This outcome destabilizes long-term equilibrium. Ethan stepped forward.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. Syria looked at him. You are disagreeing with a galaxy-wide predictive intelligence. Ethan shrugged. I've had worse Mondays. The lattice shifted violently. Space around them trembled. Correction required. Suddenly, the environment changed. Ethan and Syria were no longer alone. Echoes appeared. Simulated council members. Military leaders. Entire civilizations watching. All observing the anomaly. Syria stood straight instinctively. But Ethan didn't. He stepped forward like he belonged there. And somehow that mattered. The system paused again. Ethan spoke clearly. You built a system to predict emotional compatibility across billions of species. No response. He continued. And it worked so well that you stopped asking whether it should control outcomes instead of observing them. A flicker through the lattice. Syria watched him carefully. Ethan's voice lowered. But you missed something. The system responded. Define missing variable. Ethan looked up at the endless structure. Humans don't stay inside predictions. A silence. A long one. Then, Syria felt it first. The change. The lattice stuttering. Not breaking. Recalculating. For the first time in its existence. Uncertainty. The system spoke again. Human variability cannot be modeled. Ethan nodded slightly.
Yeah.
That's called freedom. Syria stepped closer to him. Her voice quieter now. If they accept this, the entire galaxy changes. Ethan glanced at her. Or they reject it and try to erase us. The lattice responded instantly. Correction, multiple enforcement fleets already deployed. Syria's eyes widened. They followed us here? Ethan sighed. Of course they did. The space around them began to fracture. Real space bleeding into this one. Ships appearing at the edge of the lattice field. Weapons charging. Not just one fleet. Multiple. All targeting the convergence core. Syria turned to Ethan. We are inside the system's central mind. If it is destroyed here, Ethan finished it. Everything it controls goes unstable. A pause. Then he smiled slightly. So, no pressure. Syria looked at him. For a moment fear flickered. Not of dying. Of what they had become. Then Ethan grabbed her wrist. The Soulmate indicator flared again. But this time, it wasn't containment. It wasn't prediction. It was choice. Ethan looked at her. Hey. She met his eyes. We still picking outcomes or what? Syria hesitated. Then slowly nodded. Yes. Ethan turned toward the lattice core. Good. He tightened his grip. Then let's pick the one they didn't design for. The lattice froze. The fleets fired. Reality collapsed inward. And for the first time in galactic history, a soulmate system learned something it was never built to understand. Not compatibility. Not harmony. But defiance. And the human it chose was not the variable. He was the exception.